In this lesson, we will talk about the concepts of block and scope. It will form the basis for functions, conditional expressions, structures, and many more features that we will see in the future. Blocks are created with curly braces, while a block is a collection of expressions enclosed in curly braces. As you can see, the main function was created with curly braces, and we will write our code inside these braces. Variables defined in the main code block are limited to living in that block. When the block ends with curly braces, the variables defined in it are no longer accessible and they are out of scope. For example, when we define a variable named a, inside the main function, the scope of the variable a is limited to main code block. Let's say we have created another scope in it, and when we create a variable named b within this scope, the scope of b is limited to block in which it was created. When the code block is finished, b is no longer reachable. Let's reinforce this with an example. Now let's create the variables we described in the presentation. Of course, by writing the variable b inside the block, we will change its scope. I'm printing the variables in the code block I created. As you can see, we printed it, but what happens when we try to print outside the generated block? We got an error because variable b does not exist in this scope. Its scope is over when it goes outside the block. Let's reprint the variables in their scope. Yes, variable a is still accessible in their inner scope. It can even be accessed outside the inner scope. But when we try to print variable b here, we get an error. I hope topic of scope was descriptive and useful for you. We'll cover shadowing in the next lesson.